So Liz Pope from Element will now present a summary of her consultation findings. Just to introduce Element, it's a creative multidisciplinary agency with expertise in community engagement. Element's engagement team are adept at designing and implementing genuine engagement processes which work towards the strategic objective of any project. So we've got somebody with the right skills on board, so everyone please welcome Liz.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. So my name's Liz Pope. I'm part of the engagement team, basically to come out here and talk to a lot of you fine folk here and beyond this room today. So my job basically is to go out and ask the questions in this feasibility stage for your community hub. What do you want? What are your needs, basically? And all of the data that we then collect is then packaged up, and that has influenced the concept designs that we have to date. That site we'll go through a bit later. So I will just launch into it. I'll just quickly move this. Beautiful. So let's go ahead. Oops. Yes, that's it. So just as a little bit of a background of our process, so the City of Swan invited directly 87 local groups, but it was the EY process itself to first contribute to this project was open to anybody and everyone presenting their groups within the Ellenbrook community. So from that we actually had 23 local groups that came on board. So they either did an EOI, a questionnaire, so that was 10 groups there, and then we also went down and looked at 5 groups to have a one-on-one discussion, really just to delve into their specific needs as well. So it says 22, 10 and 5, but all in total it was actually 23 groups that came and helped us to create this lovely concept plan. And this is just a really quick snapshot as well. I pulled out all the logos, so you might see yourselves in there as well. But yeah, so as you can see, there's actually a really diverse crowd that we talk to. So we have, arts groups, we have social groups, we have sporting groups as well. And I just wanted to highlight that, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but the 5 groups that we talked to there were the Angels Mission, the Men's Shed, Probus, the Ellenbrook Punjabi Club, and also the Cook Islands. And they were selected mainly because we wanted to learn a little bit more about their needs. Sometimes in the EOI process that came through, we kind of got the feeling that there was some more special needs, more complex needs, and we just had 5 spots to fill. So not to say that we couldn't speak to everyone in this project, because everyone had some great feedback for us, but we just had to select 5 for this particular project going forward. This is just a really quick snapshot map that we made up. So it does show again the kind of spread outness, if you will, of all the different groups that we talked to. There's actually some groups on there that we couldn't even put on the map, mainly because some people are working out of their homes and some people are actually going to venues outside of Ellenbrook itself. So there's a bit of diversity, and a lot of those pinpoints on the map, they are the smaller or just basically what's available there. So it could be like existing halls, existing kind of booking meeting rooms and so forth. And then we also split it out, people that are at the pavilion there, right next to the hub there. So just to give you a bit of an overview of where we're at with that. Pardon me. So the challenges that we heard from local groups, so this is just a snapshot and ones that we heard again and again, just to start off to see what we're dealing with and what we kind of want to address with this new community hub. So the first one, growing demand, means more space is required. So Jessica touched on the fact that you guys are a growing community and more people are joining your clubs. Potentially we need some more space to deal with that growing interest to be connected into these groups. Low availability of, I would say, regular out-of-hour meeting rooms. So when people want to do small meeting rooms, perhaps a lot of the places that are bookable at the moment, they're not actually available after work on a weekday, which is kind of when a lot of people want to meet beyond the weekend kind of gatherings. As I touched on before, a few people that we talk to don't actually have a home base to call home. So that has implications, I guess, with storage, with their ability to meet comfortably as well. And so having a home base for some of these groups would be a really great way for them to kind of have their aspirations met. Just a point on the fact that the men's sheds, because they are a group that we talk to, and they had some limited capacity to share with other groups. It's not to say that they don't, but they did have some special needs in terms of their workshop and safety issues as well. So I just wanted to highlight that point as well, because that had some influence about the concept designs we'll talk about later. Safe and secure places, that was paramount for nearly everyone, but especially for the young people that want to come into these spaces as well. We have to think about that care of duty, and making sure that there's privacy for other activities that, the dance classes and so forth, that not everyone wants an audience when they're rehearsing. And just acknowledging as well that there's a diversity of groups, and the activities that they do might not be a good to be suitable co-location together at certain times. So we're thinking more about the noise and if there's like quieter activities that need to happen at the same time. So we're just mindful about that as well, and how the actual layout of the rooms and the technologies that we use can influence that. So just to touch on this as well, why are groups interested in actually going to a new space? So this was a question that was asked in the EOI process, and a lot of that came down to, again, the need to grow and expand, providing a good space that they can come to frequently in the time slots that they need to be able to do that with the top two, and freeing up space for what they currently use as well, and being co-located or located close to other services that would actually complement what they do was also going to be a great benefit. And just very quick, there we go. And these are just some of the comments that we got from real people from the EOI process as well. So Punjabi Council wanting to come together for a common great things to come together with different groups, an affordable location as well, to alleviate space in the homes as well, as what we touched on. So this was a question we asked in the EOI, what spaces and facilities that people actually need. And this was arranged obviously in the order of the most need as well, but just to touch on kind of the top things that we kept seeing again and again, and we heard in the interview process as well. Spaces to meet. So this was definitely a really great way to do that. Now this particular slide was showing how often would we use these spaces, because we can build something, but if no one comes, why would we build it? But this does actually show that we, especially with the meeting rooms and the function spaces as well, there's a diversity of different times of the week, the year, the month that you would use it. And this actually suggests to us that there's a diversity of activities that would happen in those spaces. We can also see, so this was obviously a question that was a tick and flick exercise, and we can see that the light blue more than once a week, the most frequent ones, that goes across quite a lot of different spaces as well. And so I kept storage up there as well, because it was actually the same order as the last slide, but storage is inherent, you need it all the time, it's there all the time, so that's left up there. This slide just shows as well a couple of questions. Office needs was something that at least 50% of people were keen to have, so that includes hot desking, it includes access to communal printers, a safe place to lock up and store your laptops and so forth if you didn't want to just bring that home. And FPOS facilities was also one that people said. Storage as well, again, big internal stuff, small internal stuff. We didn't have quite as much of a, a focus on the outdoor storage, but there was definitely some groups that said that would be extremely helpful for them, and that's just a reflection on the diversity of the groups that we talked to. So this particular slide I popped in just to highlight the fact that between the EOI and the questionnaire survey, we actually added another function space on because discussing in the group, there was, what if we went a little bit bigger as the project progressed, as we kind of want to pivot to reflect what the community was after. So we asked the question, how many people would use the spaces that you would prefer to use? And so when we look at the major function space, so that would be the biggest space we have there, we have several groups that would want it to be over 100 people, but that also can translate to be in the large function space as well. So this tells us that basically it really does also depend on what the activity is as well. So if we just have a look at the actual groups that nominated these particular capacities for these different rooms, so we can look at the Punjabi, the Angels and the Cook Islands. These are relatively large groups. They would also be groups that said to us in interviews that we would love the biggest space. We are also very flexible to go into different spaces at the same time because these are about rehearsal spaces. So indoors and outdoors, we can be flexible in that space, but the bigger the better for certain events for sure. And then if we go down to, then we have the Ellenbrook Probus Club. So that also says to us, so up to around 100 people. That does line up what they're saying. They have a lot of events where they want their members to be sitting down to be more comfortable as they go through their long meetings and so forth. So that also speaks to the fact that it depends what the actual activity is and what equipment you would use and the context of the activities that you're doing. Large function space as well. So, as we go down, we tend to also get less people wanting to have the higher numbers there. But there's flexibility and there's nuance there that the team have taken into consideration. These are just some really quick questions about power and actual AV equipment and personal safety. These are just the quick ones that we want to go through. So, did you have any special power needs? Most people said no, but we also know that some people do want it, so let's accommodate for that. Do your activities require special lighting? Not a lot of them do. A couple of them probably would, so let's have a think of how we accommodate that if we need to as well and to what extent. So does setting up and packing away cause you any issues? And this was more so about when you need to set up your spaces, so big chairs and tables. Some people had that issue as well. So that might actually have a flow-on effect about what furniture we use and purchase. And about half of the activities needed some privacy requirements as well. So going back, that was mainly around the youth spaces as well. So the next few slides are actually what I call the key findings that when we look at all the data, once we've looked at the EOI, we've looked at the survey, we've talked to people in person, these are the key summary items that we really want to focus on and get right. So the first one, local community groups within Ellenbrook are growing and thus need alternative space options for the various activities and events they offer. So this is about, there's a really clear need for a new dedicated community space to meet the demand of social, recreational, sporting and cultural groups. So there's a lot of people that we need to be able to accommodate. Let's do it well. Several groups didn't have a permanent home, as I mentioned, and they rely on ad hoc bookings, private residences, and non-local venues to deliver services and experiences. There's a desire by groups to expand the variety of activities they offer as a core offering, and that's to do with aspirations. This is about you guys saying, we have ideas, we have the energy, we just need a little bit of help in the facility space to do that. And that's also great for you guys to attract new members as well. Lack of fit for purpose spaces is a critical barrier to this aspiration and this key goal. And we regularly heard that if you just needed a little bit more variety in space sizes and meeting rooms as well as out of hours access, this would go a long way to alleviating this for local groups. So the next one is the future community hub will require both functional service spaces and social spaces to take advantage of the desire for community to connect with one another. So this is about designing the building with compatible events and activities in mind. there was a focus on high quality spaces and making sure that there's user-friendly technology. So we're thinking the projectors and the climate controls and that kind of stuff. And also privacy was something that came up a bit, as I mentioned before. Flexibility was a key component of this, and we just need to be able to think about, especially our function spaces, to accommodate everything from sit-down meetings to high energy movement and dance rehearsals. So what do we need to do in those spaces that can be applied across a lot of those different activities? And soundproofing came up as well. So if we're thinking about the men's shed in particular, we want to be able to soundproof some of the machinery and so forth. So that's something that we're also considering. And we need to, and I also needed to highlight the social aspect. So that's really important, and it's something that we're considering, not only the formal gatherings, but also those really nuanced and quiet interactions. So how do we give the opportunities to chat, to linger? It's the mums sitting on the walls outside waiting for their kids to finish dance rehearsals. It's the cup of tea that you have after your AGM. So yeah, being really mindful that that's something that you guys wanted. And basically a lot of the groups said that there really is an inherent need in your gatherings for a social element. And we want to be able to make that happen more easy. Next one, storage is an easy win to attract prospective user groups to the new community hub. This is the low-hanging fruit, I would say. So it's storage across the board. You can't get enough of it, basically. You guys have stuff, we need to put it somewhere. And I would generally, from the data, categorise this into a few different categories. So that's the office supplies, the laptops, the papers, the poster, printout stuff. The equipment, such as like AV equipment and banners, outdoor storage, so workshop materials, sports gear, camping stuff, food items, so if you wanted to store dry or frozen food for your gatherings, and performing arts bits and bobs, so that's the costumes, the staging, the instruments, all those fun things that I'm really jealous that you guys have here. So centralised storing would be really important, and look, at a really in a critical sense, it's going to relieve the burden of those community members that store a lot of this stuff in their homes. We don't want to put pressure on volunteers to safeguard our items for the whole community, because I think that as you guys grow and grow and grow, where's your car going to park? So yeah, and we want to be able to make it safe and secure as well. And on that point as well, a lot of the groups that we talked to were really keen to share things with each other, so communal kitchenware, furniture, tea and coffee supplies, that kind of thing. Let's be efficient about this as well. So outdoor spaces are likely to be an integral part of the function of places and social fabric of your community hub. We didn't have a massive focus on outdoor areas when we started this process, because it was a lot about the building. But what we heard organically that came up as we went through the questionnaire and in the chats with the interviews, outdoor spaces were a lot more important than we originally put focus on. So we really wanted to kind of draw that out a bit more. So this is about groups aligning current and future activities with outdoor space opportunities, rehearsal spaces, outdoor workshop areas, holding events, training, if there's particular things you could do training outdoors, and also delivery, so basically truck rolling up and delivering your goods and bits and pieces, so having a space for that. Outdoor social gathering spaces were also important that people wanted, so a barbecue, a hangout space for the kids to run around, and also there was an opportunity for outdoor public artworks incorporated, not just as a feature art on a wall or a statue, but integrated into the functional elements, so in the walls and the furniture that surrounds there would be a great opportunity, especially with some of the artistic talent. That was something that was really interesting to talk about. And the last one here, now, so there's an opportunity for the city and community to collaboratively inject heart and soul into the new facility. I was really keen to put this picture up. So these are the lovely ladies from Angels Mission and the Cook Islands. So you've got Victoria, Pinay and Anawa, amazing ladies. And I want to put this, and I'm a bit sorry they're not here today because I wanted to see them again. Look, and I was really touched by how centred and focus their words in giving back to the wider community. And they could clearly see, I feel, what a new community hub could actually do for them and for the wider people that they serve. And that's a thread that I heard quite often as well, in especially some of the more social gap giving community groups in Ellenbrook. And so the community, I feel, was really excited about the prospects for the community hub because it would represent to people a place to put down roots, pride and visibility in the Ellenbrook community, showcasing the talents of its members, filling that social need gaps, especially for those, experiencing mental health or domestic violence, bringing in the young people, new migrants. The community hub will be a way to open the arms a bit wider to help. There's a lot of goodwill, I felt, to make this work for everyone, and people wanted to share quality spaces with the wider community. There was a bit of excitement as well by some groups to co-locate, especially with services, professional services, if there was something actually in the centre or nearby, such as mental health professionals. And there was also a really lovely chat we had with these ladies about sharing cultural knowledge and what tangible gifts can especially migrant communities give to the centre as well. Let's think about how we can make this a welcoming space. Let's think about how we can uplift the rich cultural tapestry you have here, because it's something special, and I think you guys have some really deep pride in what you have here. So let's showcase that. So just to round up my little spiel, these are just some very quick other insights. I can't go through them all because there was so much data, but I really just wanted to highlight the top 5 that we found. And we can probably do some sort of summary about this a bit later online. And there will be a further chance to have your say on the draft drawings after tonight, but before I hand the microphone off, is there any questions for the engagement portion of this project? No? Oh, yeah, Mike.
Was the City of Swan actually engaged in this process?
This
This
is
is my own personal opinion, but we've got a lot of community hubs already, which aren't utilised. But you get a community group, and with Coolum, they would come to us and say, "I'll come to the City of Swan and say, can we put this facility notes we've booked out?" But then they'd learn that, they come to me and say, "Are you using the hall that night?" "Yeah, we are, but we can stay outside so you can use it." So it became there's so many groups that could use the facilities, but City of Swans just look online and go, "No, it's booked out." Where if you actually liaise with the different organisations and say, "You've got it, we got a group who wants to use it for that night, or every Tuesday night, or every Friday night, can you work around it?" And what your chances are we can get. But I've tried to get that point over to the city many times, and they just don't listen to it. So one central is good, but we've got so many little community hubs already. So Coolum will serve that area, Woodlake will serve that area, but just the locals to get together at meetings or have coffees or whatever.
Yes, right. Yes, thank you for that feedback, and thank you, Liz. Very good energy. Yeah, I can just say that from the city's perspective, we are, managing this project. I do take your feedback on board. I think we have something like 180 buildings with multiple spaces in each. We only have 2 facilities booking offices, so they just rely on looking at that data, taking the calls, making the booking. So if they see that there's something in there for that time slot, that's kind of the limit of their capacity to kind of, give an answer rather than delving deeper. But I do credit you for, treating that in a flexible way with the users who've asked you to share, so that demonstrates your commitment to sharing the space. So unfortunately that is the only mechanism that they have to manage the booking at this stage, but hopefully within this space we can take some of that feedback on board and look at some alternative ways of managing the centre.
Because one of the things I would propose there is, because we use it all the way through the winter season, is that we would manage the bookings almost, and we're moving to data now.
Yes,
that's what we're proposing to them, that they are able to book things, but people can come straight to us and book things as well.
Yeah, this is a common theme I've seen with a number of groups that may have had a lease in the past, an exclusive lease or licence, and wish to manage their own space versus the city's policy of having a central booking system. And I also accept that there are spaces that just stay empty because of those barriers. So, we hope to sort of test.
It's not so much managing our own space, it's been having a central point so people can come to the space and go, we need a facility, can we have it Tuesday night, and we work around it.
Sure.
So it's not so we've got the space to ourselves, it's actually so we can actually diversify the space. Because, as you say, there's only 2 people booking.
Yes.
But we
Did you just want to take my details at the end of the session and we can have a chat about it?
Yeah.
Good one. So, yes. Yes?
Just to add to the gentleman's comments, etc. We're sitting here in this facility, which I actually thought was the Ellenbrook Community Centre, and then I found out it was for the youth centre. The city manages various facilities around here, and the costs must be enormous. So you've got that hub near the Woolworths down there for the people that need assistance, etc. You've got the sister project, I don't know if the city is involved in that, but the facility needs to encompass all these other groups so that it's a one-shop deal, so that you don't have staff all over the place. The cost must be enormous. And you still need little parts, like the sporting groups and sports facilities, yes. But you need to have one space where people know where they can go. So, for whatever reason, meetings, etc. So, I don't know what is going to happen with all these little spaces around. Are they still going to continue, or is there going to be them as well as this big hub, etc.?
Just to clarify, so this facility would not be a staffed building. It would be a multi-purpose space that is available to book. There might be a lease, say for instance with the Men's Shed, if they had specialist needs and they couldn't share a space for those safety requirements. But otherwise the space would be available to anybody within the community to book, so there wouldn't be a staff member associated with working at the hub.